Hi everyone, it's your favourite Atomic Blonde here, and yeah, we're here, the end, the finale. Picard Season 3, Episode 10, The Last Generation. Wow. I know, I'm a broken record. I love this episode. It's just so gratifying after, watching something for 10 weeks. You've been going on going, yeah, this is good. I'm enjoying this. You see it in so many shows. I mean, most of the time we don't get good story, we don't get good characterization, but on the odd occasion that we have, you get to the end, it's like, oh, okay. But not here. I am pleased to say, certainly for me, I really loved the end, pretty wrapped everything up. I had a smile on my face. I was like, emotion. It was just, everything I wanted, certainly. I think from what I've seen, most of what the fans wanted as well. Absolutely cracking finale. Well done to everybody that worked on this show. So, we left the last episode with the crew, the old TNG crew, getting on board the Enterprise D, which is amazing. And they're all signing up pretty much for one last mission, which is obviously to go get Jack, save Geordie's girls, and save the world, basically, as they always do. So they're on the Enterprise D. They're obviously heading towards Earth. They're scanning. They pick up the transmission. There's lots of interference, but they realise that there's got the Borg signal is going to be coming somewhere close to the planet, and they find the Borg cube hiding in the gases of Jupiter. And then through the scanning, they try to see if they can locate where Jack is. They can't, there's too much interference, but then Beverly says to the computer, can you isolate like human brainwaves? They manage to isolate, and they know Jack is on the cube. So they need to obviously go get Jack. Meanwhile, on the Titan, they're coming up where what few crew are left, and we're literally talking single digits here. So we've got Seven and Raffi obviously heading that up, needing to retake the ship. So they come up with a plan, and they get up to the bridge and sort of shoot and stun each of the crew members. But when they shoot them, they're then transported to the transporter room, and they're locked into the transporter room. So basically on the fly came up with these portable transporters. And for now, they are locked in the transporter room, so they take back control of the Titan. Main priority is to obviously sever the link with the collective so they can get control of the ship. And when they're scanning or and to sort of block the scramble the shields of the fleet, sort of send the protection codes. And when they're scanning, they pick up there's like a Galaxy class ship, and Raffi reads out the NCC 1701D, which calls it NCC 1701D. Nobody ever pronounces it 1701. It's 1701D. That's a woman. Anyway, and Seven's like, oh, that's got to be Picard. That's the Enterprise D. So they're like, right, okay, we've got to do everything we can to buy them time. They're taking on the Borg. And Seven talks to Raffi about this sort of line of sight. It's like, yeah, I didn't really get this, I have to say. So like they can only control you if they can see you. Anyway, serves a purpose. So when they're cloaked, they can't see where the ship is or can control the ship. When they come out of cloak, they can. So they start and she sort of tells the few crew that they've got to get to their stations. And this poor guy, and she's like, stations, and he's got to stand there going, I'm just a cook. He's kind of done my lunar training but didn't quite finish it. And she's just like, you're a pilot, you're our pilot, you're piloting. So this poor dude, has to fly the ship. And so they come up with like sort of cloaking and then coming out of cloak, and obviously as they come out of cloak, then they're attacking the fleet and then disappearing back into cloak again. And this kind of works initially. Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, they get to the cube, and scans show that so that they know Jack's on the cube, but the scans are also showing that only like sort of 36% of the cube is actually working, and most of the energy is all going to sending this signal out. So obviously Jack's transmitting this signal, but something's boosting it. So they're like, right, we've got to stop this signal, obviously get Jack. That's our only hope to save the Earth and you know, all the other systems. Because of all the interference, they know they can't transport Jack out. So Picard says to Riker, right, we're going to have to beam down and find him and find the schematics to find where this booster signal thing is on the ship and find Jack. And then Worf goes, I'll make it a threesome. And Riker's just like, do you even hear yourself? So the three of them beam down, and you know, obviously like Picard before he gets onto Turbo Lift just says like, it's been a pleasure serving with you all. So you're getting this real tension that they're not all going to make it. And you're sort of hard, you know, you're like, oh my, you know, all bets are off at this point. You know, anybody could basically Picard is literally sort of saying, look, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself for Jack. So he's pretty much saying goodbye. And then he's like, Beverly, you're like, you know, I'm going to get him. So they've been bored on the cube. They just sort of see the remains of some Borgs, but they're all kind of like decaying. And when they scan it, Worf says there's like something's like consuming them, the tissue. And they're like, well, what's consuming them? And Picard's like, or whom? So yeah, as they go into the cube, Picard says to Riker and Worf that, okay, I can't be your captain anymore. I've got to be a father. And you know, you guys get the schematics, basically get out of here. I'm going to go look for Jack. And again, there's a lovely like sort of, you know, saying goodbye effectively. And Worf's like, you know, there's two words that Klingons pretend they don't know, and that's like defeat and farewell. And that's, you know, it's about, you know, as emotional as you know you're going to get from Worf. And so Picard goes off to find Jack. The others go to find the schematics, which they do. And as normal sort of Borg form, they kind of ignore them until they're able to get into the system. And obviously they're downloading the information to send back to the Enterprise. When they start doing that, the few remaining Borgs wake up and they attack Riker and Worf. And Riker's just like sort of flung to one side, and Worf is going at them with his new sword thing, and Worf gets shot in the shoulder, and she goes down, and he's like to Riker the sword, and he's like, a sword handle, and he goes to pick up the sword, and he's like, shit, this is heavy, and he does like weighs an absolute ton, and obviously Worf just like. So anyway, in the handle of the sword is actually a phaser, and Riker's like, so he shoots the Borg, and he's just like, all this time you had a phaser, and he's like, and Worf's just like, sorts of fun. Worf just had the best lines in this episode. This is brilliant. So anyway, obviously they can complete sending the plans across, and Picard finds Jack. And obviously we see Jack all hooked up and has got like the Borg outfits on, and the red eye thing, pretty much identical to Locutus. And he's obviously speaking and giving out commands and like fire, and you know, directing the assimilated. And then Picard sees the Borg Queen, who's just sort of behind and above him, and she's all deformed. The prosthetics were great because obviously a different actress is playing physically with all these prosthetics on, but we've got the voice of the original Borg Queen, and it was done really well. And she's like, welcome home, Locutus, you know, like you've returned to me as well as the sun. And she's sort of goading him, and then says like how she's Jack's mother. And this just makes like Picard flip, and he starts like shooting at her. But she's got her shields up, so she just starts laughing. Meanwhile, back on the Titan, they're continuing to try and distract the fleet. But the Borg crew managed to get out of the transporter room and have gone and shot up the cloaking device. So they drop out of cloak, and obviously they're hit, and they're kind of like dead in the water now. There's like nothing more they can do. And then obviously the Borg crew members are on their way to the bridge to get their orders are, you know, reclaim the Titan, kill the unassimilated. On the Enterprise, they've assessed the plans, and the transmitting device is right in the center of the cube, and like they're like, this is going to be impossible to get to. Geordie's like, you know, the computer, even my daughter couldn't fly that, you know, we're kind of, and Beverly's like, well, there's got to be something we can do, we can't give up now. And Data starts doing his speed typing, and then starts to sort of fly the Enterprise into the cube, and Georgie's like, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I can do this. And they're all like, Data, stop, you can't, you know, this is impossible. And Data like gets like quite wound up, and he's like, look, I know I can do this. He's like, I can feel it in my gut. And they're like, Data, just stop. And he's like, no. He goes, trust me, I can do this. So they're like, okay. And then we kind of get the older, hey Star Wars, hold my beer moment. When we just see the Enterprise flying through this maze of the cube, firing at you know, as they go all the way through. And it was great to see, because obviously in the original series it was a model, so you couldn't have that kind of articulation. So it's absolutely fantastic flying through the cube until they finally get that. Or just before they get there, there's while they're examining or waiting for the plans to come across, they need to sort of stall, and there's a whole bit where Geordie says to Beverly, okay, you're going to need to manually target and fire, because I haven't had time to rig up that part of the computer. And she's like, fine, I'm on it. And she's like loading torpedoes, you know, firing phasers, and she just nukes the thing. And all three of them just sort of turn around like, wow, Beverly. And she's like, what's happened in 20 years, guys? So, you know, she's really sort of found purpose as a character, because she was always a bit of a spare part, really. They never really knew what to do with her character, and it was brilliant to see. And it also wasn't like a sort of girl boss moment. It's like Sash, she was just like, yeah, I've learned stuff, all right, no big deal. So anyway, they're now in the center of the cube. Beverly goes to say blow it up, and then obviously Geordie with his artificial eyes says to Data, are you seeing this? And then they realize that it's kind of been rigged into the cube itself. So if they blow up the device, the transmitting device, it will blow up the cube and obviously kill Picard and Riker and Worf and Jack. So they're like, well, you know, what are we going to do? And again, great writing, which is what, you know, this is why we say this show is like Star Trek. It feels like Star Trek, because they all basically say, look, we've got to sacrifice the people we love down there to save everybody. And they look at Beverly, and obviously she's heartbroken. She knows she's got to kill her own son and Jean-Luc, but she's like, yeah, I get it. That's what we've got to do. Riker and Worf have heard this over the comms. They say, look, understood. We get it. And Deanna says, look, you've got about a minute. Once we fire these off, we've got transporter lock of you both. We'll bring you on board. And Riker's like, no, don't provide that. I'm not leaving him. And he sort of says, you know, I had Jean-Luc's given me this whole lifetime of, you know, sort of friendship, and the least I can do is give him 1 minute. So him and Worf go off to find Jean-Luc. And meanwhile, Jean-Luc's obviously trying to speak to Jack and starts to try and unplug him from the collective. And the Queen's like, if you unplug him, you'll kill him. You'll do irreparable damage to his psyche, you know, his brain and his psyche. If you rip him out the collective, the only way he can come out is if he chooses to. And then Picard basically then steps up and grabs one of the electrode things and says, like, you know, I've been running half my life from the collective. I vowed I'd never be part of it again. I wouldn't be assimilated again. But, you know, Jack needs me, and he stabs it into his neck, and you see all like the black veins. And there's a scene as he's almost like his locutus subconscious kicks in, and you see, I think it's from the nightmare he has in First Contact, where he's in his Starfleet uniform on the cube, and then you see him as locutus, and then he's like in the collective, and he's there with Jack, and Jack is like, I found this kind of peace. It's so I don't feel lonely anymore. I can hear them all. There's like this real sort of, you know, serenity to it almost for Jack. And Picard is sort of saying, look, Jack, I've come to bring you home. And Jack's like, I am home. And so and he then says to him that, you know, you're the most, you know, important thing that's ever happened to me. I always felt lost, and Starfleet was my home, and I found a family, but I still had this hole, and I didn't realize what it was until I found you, and you're like the missing piece. Sort of paraphrasing, says it much better than me. And this kind of sort of takes Jack aback, and basically Picard says, well, if you're not going to go, I'm going to stay with you. By which point on the Enterprise, they've blown up the device, and the cube is starting to implode. Worf and Riker are there with Picard, sort of going, this is it. And Picard hugs Jack, and just, you know, I'm here. You're not on your own. And this sort of triggers just, you know, a sort of human response in Jack, and he starts sort of having a bit of a flashback from the moment he met Picard on the ship, on the Titan, when they were in 10 Forward and getting to know each other and laughing and seeing his mother. And it just sort of snaps his humanity back. And then you kind of just see him like leaving the consciousness, and he like starts to wake, pulls out the cables. The Borg Queen's like, no, what's going on? And then he rips out the thing from Picard's neck, and she's like, but you're broken, you're alone, you can't leave, you need to stay. And he's like, he just looks over at Picard and goes, I'm not alone. Meanwhile, obviously the cube is starting to blow up around them. On the Enterprise, they're trying to find them, they can't find them. And then you hear Riker sort of saying, like, I love you to Troy, and I will see you on the other side, basically, with our son. And she feels this sort of wave of emotion from Riker, and jumps into the navigator's chair, and she goes, I know where they are, because she's able to sense him. And there's this great scene where the Enterprise kind of flies like down into where they are, and it almost like handbrake turns it in. It's like, and then they're able to beam them all out and get away just as the cube explodes. And you can see the ship sort of flying out with the shields around it and a fireball around it, and they get out. As it takes out the Queen, we see back on the Titan, just as the Borg crew have entered the bridge, and they're all, you know, stand off with phasers. All the assimilation kind of retracts, all those black veins disappear, and they're all just sort of left standing there, like realizing they're pointing their guns at their colleagues and just looking around, going, "What have we done? What's happened?" And obviously they're distressed. So then we skip to 1 year later, and they've obviously rebuilt Space Dock, because Space Dock had basically fallen, and the fleet was turning on the Earth, and they were targeting all the cities just before they pulled Jack out. So they've fixed up Space Dock, and Riker does his sort of captain's log, and he's like, star date, and he's like, 1, I guess, you know, it's a new dawn and all that kind of thing. And he goes on to explain that Beverly's rejoined Starfleet. She's now an admiral of a special medical set up, and she was able to find a way to put the kids, the youngsters, back through the transporters and remove the Borg DNA. And also, when they put them through the transporters, they can pick up any other anomalies. So basically, they found a way of detecting the changelings, because they're still in Starfleet. And he also explains that the Starfleet or people that were taken and replaced with changelings, it seems like most of them are all still alive, which then leads us on to Tuvok having a conversation with Seven, and he says that all the members of the Enterprise, because of past deeds and in light of what's just happened, have all been pardoned. However, feel like your role in this and disobeying orders, etc., etc. I'm ordered to, and she stops him and says, "Look, clearly I don't fit. Clearly I don't follow the rules. Let me make this easy for you. I resign." And then Tuvok pushes a sort of disc across the desk and says, and obviously there's also your performance review. And she's like, "Oh, great, here we go." So she presses a button and it's like a hologram of Shaw. And he sort of goes in. And then that leads us to Commander Hansen, or 7 of 9. And he does say, like, she doesn't follow orders, she's headstrong. I'm old-fashioned. I like things by the book, and I know the book's boring. And she's just sort of sitting there going, rolling her eyes. And then he goes on to say, but she's also brave. She's loyal. The rules she breaks, maybe they should be broken, or the rules are broken already. And she's going to basically make an amazing captain. And when we get back, I'm going to recommend that she's promoted. And he recognizes her as 7 of 9, and obviously she's just welling up and feels really bad that actually he did actually respect her, even though he was a dick to her. So she's now been promoted to captain. We see even old Rafaela gets a happy ending. She is in her quarters, and we sort of just see it on the tablet looking at a little girl, and it's basically, you hear her son's voice saying, "Oh, I'd love for you to meet your granddaughter," because obviously he's had nothing to do with her because she used to be a crackhead. So she's like, it's like, yeah, that'd be amazing. And obviously she's like emotionally tearful, and Worf comes up and says, "Oh, I hope they're like happy tears." And she's like, "Yeah, it's amazing. My son wants me to meet my granddaughter because funnily enough, like all this information's come out about all these commendations that I received, that were classified." And I was like, "Well, whoever leaked those must be an honourable person." Wink, wink. And he just sort of goes up to her and hugs her. And she's like, "Oh, yeah." So, but he's like, "You're a great warrior," and he has so much respect for her, and yeah, so she gets a happy ending, so to speak. Then we finally see we've got Beverly and Picard on a shuttle with Jack. Obviously, Jack's been enrolled in Starfleet, and he's like pacing up and down, and Beverly's like, "Oh, you're nervous?" And he's like, "No." And they're like sort of talking about him being like on a fast track, so he must be good, or he's like, "Yeah," or it's just nepotism. The name can go a long way. So obviously he's changed his name to Picard, or he's Crusher Picard, or something like that. And Picard asks him, you never told me what ship have you been assigned to, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's the thing. That's why I'm nervous." And Picard's like, "What?" He goes, "What about for you?" And Beverly says, "Yeah, look, we kept it from you because we know you don't like a big fanfare." And he's like, "What's going on?" So as the shuttle, is going into space dock, you see the underside of the ship, and he's like, "Oh, it's the Titan." And they're like, "Not exactly." And then they sort of pan up, and they're like, "In honor of you and the crew, she's been rechristened, and now she's the Enterprise G." So a bit mixed feelings on this one, because obviously the Enterprise is normally the flagship of the fleet. It's normally a big ship and top dog. I do love the Enterprise being back to Constitution class, albeit Neo Constitution. So I do love that the Enterprise is, say, Constitution, but it's not really the flagship of the fleet. Hey, I can live with it. I can live with it. So then we see Jack. He swaggers onto the bridge and starts like, you know, hey, do this, do that, blah blah. Sits down in the captain's chair, and you just hear Seven's voice like, "Oi, get out!" And he's like, "Oh, but it's comfy," and she's like, "Out." So he gets out the captain's chair, and he's like, "Yeah," she's like, "Out, ensign." And he's like, "Oh, where do you want me then? On tactical or comms? I can speak like 13 million languages or something." And she basically puts the chair next to her, and it's captain's special counselor or something, so he can get to sit like what would be like Deanna's old seat. And we got old Riff Raff is now first officer, so there can be some scissoring in space, I suppose. But anyway, she looks great though. She's looking really well. So we've got so obviously Jack, Seven, and Raffi, plus the remains of the Titan crew, all heading off on this sort of training, shake it up flight. And there's a whole conversation with Raffi and Jack going, "So you're going to give your first order then?" And she's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Hey, this is the start of a, you know, new chapter. This is a new legacy kind of thing. And it's like what you say now is like really important." And they're like, "Is it engage? Make it so? Take us out?" And they're all like looking at her, and she goes to speak, and she's like, and then it cuts away, so we don't know what word she says, but hopefully it'll be legendary, whatever they come up with. And we get we lastly go back to the actual 10 forward, because obviously spent most of the time in the holodeck, but they're in the real 10 forward. And there's a comment that Guinan's there giving them the snake, you know, side eye, snake eye, but we don't see her, thankfully. And they're just sort of saying their sort of last goodbyes, really, and farewell drinks. And hey, Data, it's your turn for a toast. And go back to a TNG episode. He starts sort of with, "There was a woman from Venus," and they all go, "Data, no," and he goes, "But I want to finish the lyric," and they're just like, "No, not appropriate." So then they say to Picard, "You know, well, do you want to say something?" And he comes out with this like sort of bit of poetry, this quote of, you know, all like very, very Picard. And they sort of go to drink to that, and they're saying, "Yeah, we need to get off." And then he whips out a packet of cards, and they're all like, "Yes!" And then they all sit down at the table, and it's the same shot that we had at the end of All Good Things. They sort of pan up, and Picard's dealing out, and all playing poker. And this plays out for the whole length of the out credits, and it's just lovely. They were sitting there laughing and joking. You can tell they obviously really enjoyed themselves as a cast, and obviously they were just having fun. I bet there were some real drinks going on there as well, judging by it. But it's just this camaraderie, this kind of, you know, because they have stayed friends all these years. It's absolutely what you're seeing on screen is genuine, and you really, really felt it. So we get to the end credits, and then mid-credit scene. So Jack's in his quarters, he's unpacking. He takes out this picture that looks like it's from like the 80s, early 90s of Patrick Stewart and Gates McFadden. But it's like sort of picture of them young. It must be like some Emmy do or Golden Globes or something like that, because obviously Patrick Stewart's in a tuxedo. But anyway, great little nod, and goes, "Oh, mum and dad picture," you know. And he's taking his stuff out, and then he hears a voice behind him, and he turns around, and it's none other than Q. He just died in such a stupid way in season 2. I was just like, oh, please. So, and but obviously Jack goes like, "You must be Q. My father's told me about you." And he's like, "Yeah, aren't you a chip off the old block?" And he's like, "But I thought you were dead." And he's just like, "Ugh, I thought the next generation wouldn't think so linear." And I think that's a bit of a dig at like how ridiculously they killed off an immortal being. And they basically says that. He goes, "I'm immortal. Of course I didn't die." It's like, And then Jack goes on to say, but I thought, you know, the humanities trial was over. And again, he's like, well, the trial always goes on. It's just over for Jean-Luc. And it's like, basically, it's now your turn to sort of pick up the mantle, like. And that was the end. So fantastic retcon, bringing Q back, which means there's still the option to make Jean-Luc human again, thankfully. It was just fantastic. Yeah, you can't kill off Q. Like, oh, I've lost my powers and I'm going to die, please. So a very, very gratifying ending. Tied up all the loops. Obviously, the head. So when Vadik was cutting a hand off and talking to the head, that was the Borg Queen. I guess what we don't know is whether Vadik knew that she was dealing with the Borg or the Borg Queen. Had they ever actually met? Don't know, but she was like pretty scared of her. So who knows? Maybe that'll come out if Terry ever gets another season of something or a new show. Obviously, we're all hoping for the Star Trek Legacy, which we know doesn't exist right now, but they could approve the concept or say it's in development or give us something other than flipping Section 31 and Starfleet Safe Space. Please. So, yeah. Paramount, please. I mean, surely the cash registers are starting to ring. You know, Star Trek is the first Star Trek out of the new era that's actually hit the Nielsen ratings. And that was just for episode 4. And we know how much better this show has got and word of mouth has grown. I, for one, cannot wait for the 4K to come out. I'm going to be rewatching the series over this weekend because, like, once you know what's coming, you can spot those Easter eggs better, or you can see the foreshadowing, and you kind of go, "Oh my god, that was so obvious all the time. How did we not figure this out?" But I did figure it out. I did get the book bit. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. I am gutted it's finished. It was so lovely on a Friday, having something to look forward to. Couldn't wait to watch the episode. I was literally up at 6:30 this morning to watch this before I started work. So I was like, I've got to see this. If I get any spoilers, I'm going to be pissed. I've stayed off social media for 24 hours. I've like not looked at anything that could possibly like give it away. You know, said like friends and family, don't tell me anything until I told you that I've seen it. And I couldn't have been more pleased. I love this show. Was it perfect? No. Are there things to nitpick over? 100%. But me, it was fun. It was so much fun. And I just loved it. It's just so nice having a show to look forward to, that entertained, it's funny, it's pulling at the heartstrings, it's everything I remember Star Trek being. And I couldn't thank Terry Matalis enough for giving us this little flower in the oasis. And it looks like, you know, at this rate, Paramount are too stupid to give him his own show. So this could be the one and only thing that we get. You know, obviously the TNG actors have got the bug, would love to come back. I'm sure people from other Star Trek series have gone, hey, that's done well. I want a piece of that action. So would come back. So even if Star Trek Legacy doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure Terry knows what he'd want to do if he's given the keys to the door. So we will see, but I won't hold my breath. I can just pray to the nerd gods that we get another show from Terry, and it's not the last we'll see of Jack, Sydney, maybe even Shaw. Who knows? So I've loved doing these videos over the last 10 weeks, chatting to you all. Thank you for your comments. If you have any comments on the finale, did you like it? Did you not like it? Do let me know. As always, do like, share, and subscribe. It helps massively. Gets the channel out there. And say, unless there's another good show on TV, what am I going to be talking about on its own standalones? Obviously, I still have my Sunday lunch where I wrap up other shows that I've been watching. But I just want something good that I just want to make a video about all on its own. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, catch me on Sunday lunch, catch me on this Facebook. And yeah, so take care, have a fabulous weekend, enjoy yourselves, and I will see you soon.